Hello, everyone, and welcome to Exploring Awesome. This is the show where I explore tips, tricks, and strategies to help you and me to live a more awesome life. Today, I am super excited to bring someone on today because I've been following this guy for a while. We're friends, we're colleagues. We've even gone out and done some street hypnosis together before. Everybody, welcome Aaron Braun to the show. Hey, Aaron.
Hey, everybody. How are you doing today, Jim?
I'm doing really well, thanks. I want to let everybody know too. You're listening to and watching Exploring Awesome. You may be catching us on Facebook, on YouTube, or you may be listening later on Anchor or Blog Talk Radio. Listen, everybody, if you want to join in on the conversation, if you're listening on Super Bowl Sunday, it is Super Bowl Sunday, February 7th, 2021. We invite your live questions. You can type a question into whatever platform you're on, and we will answer those questions. Hey, do you have a team in the game today, Aaron?
You know, I am not a huge football guy myself, but with that said, I'm not rooting against Brady.
Well, I'm not a huge football fan myself either. So my favorite meme to post every year is Grumpy Cat saying, "I hope both teams lose." So
you can never go wrong with that answer, Jim. Wrong with that.
Never go wrong with that. Now, you know, the reason I wanted to have Aaron on because so I've been following him for a while on Instagram. Check him out on Instagram. What's your Instagram handle again, Aaron?
You know, actually, that's a really good question. I need to familiarize myself with the platform here because that's the way to take off. My social media handle is a.braun. That spelling is B-R-A-U-N. So a.braun_86.
All right, that is the way to take off. You know, and I'm sorry, I should have that all in front of me, but I don't. There's his Facebook, everybody. You can reach out to him on Facebook. Eventually, I know he's going to get himself a website. He's going to do all that stuff because this guy, follow him. He's going to be big. I can tell you that right now. He's already big. Do you want to just get this out of the way, Aaron? Can you just show us the guns right away?
Unfortunately, I've got a long sleeve shirt on over here, so you can't see a whole lot underneath. I'm more modest today, but if you're on my Facebook, you'll see an abundance of pictures there.
That's a good way to get him to go over to the Instagram. Good thinking, my friend. Good thinking, my friend. I'm going to show my guns too, so you can't even tell the difference. But when you go on Instagram, you will see a difference.
I can see the definition right to the shirt.
So, you know, sometimes I think that people look at successful people in whatever area, and you're obviously very successful in the realm of building your body. You've put in a lot of work, a lot of time. And I know, one of the things I used to think of is I had a kind of a fixed mindset, meaning that I sort of thought that's just the way people were. If I looked at this in the past, I would have said, oh, well, Braun probably had, his parents had him eating healthy when he was a kid. They had him exercising, and they built that discipline into him and everything. And then I'm reading about your story, and you don't have that story, Aaron. You don't have that story at all, do you?
No, absolutely not, Jim. Virtually the polar opposite. Growing up, I didn't have opportunity to professional athletics, or collegiate athletic nature. Never was really introduced to what it even meant to be. My meals consist of Taco Bell, McDonald's, a box, multiple times a day, a case of Mountain Dew throughout. That was the life that I was exposed to growing up, so I really didn't know any better from there.
Yeah. And you can see, and Aaron did send over some photos. Unfortunately, on this format, you can't see him. But when you go over to Blog Talk later, the folks that listen or go over to Blog Talk, that's blogtalkradio.com/exploring awesome. You'll see a couple of photos. But you know what? Really, just go over to his Instagram. Like, head over there and you'll see what I'm talking about. He really has just done an incredible job of turning his life around. Do you want to just, I know it's a long story, I'm sure, but could you give us the highlights of your childhood? I mean, I found it really intriguing, the parents and how you were, who brought you up and all that stuff.
Absolutely, Jim. I'd be happy to. It is a long story. In fact, I'm currently working on an autobiography myself. You can read the entire story, virtually from day one up until now. I'm 34 years I'd be happy to talk about the important part of that. So I was a product. My parents were 13 and 15 when I was conceived. So you can imagine they were just children themselves. That's unfathomable to me to put myself in that position to be able to understand the burden that must. Immediately when I was born, I fell into the care of my maternal grandmother's side. Essentially, was raised with my mother. My mom was in the picture off and on, but she had been more focused on her social, being my dad wanted to be in the picture a lot more, but being in the maternal side of the family, he was perceived as the villain. Not the case at all. So he, as a 15, 16-year-old teenager, were virtually tied to his involvement in my life. So I had a lot of exposure to my dad, not any fault of his own, but he was perceived in such a manner that they kept him away. The story was actually told to me I was probably an infant. I was about 1 year, like maybe a year old, maybe a year and a half old. I was my grandmother's house. I was a child. My uncle, which was my brother, was watching me, but he was having a house party, having all kinds of friends over. They were drinking. So it's told to me. My great grandmother had called to check on me to see how I was doing. She was very overprotective, very concerned. Nobody answered the phone. She drove over to the house, found me sleeping in my crib, but everybody else was partying upstairs. People were smoking, drinking, and she was fed up. So she took me out of my crib, brought me to her place. She left. Nobody even knew that I was gone.
Wow.
So she kept me there with her. I spent the majority of my younger years growing up with her. A lot of involvement. She was very overprotective. Didn't really allow a lot of contact from so I would bounce around between my maternal grandmother to my great grandmother, back and forth. Shortly moved to California afterwards to pursue life in the movies. She had these aspirations of being surrounded herself with people in the music industry, the movie industry, and so forth. And she kind of went off and did her own thing. My dad was still being kept away from me, occasion, but not a lot. Anyway, to cut to the chase, my grandmother worked as a bartender. Now, she was a sweet woman. She would give and offer back for anybody, but she did have a drinking problem. She had a pretty severe drinking problem, actually. She was a bartender as well, accidentally. Her and my grandfather, my biological grandfather, had was born, so I could know him. She met another man, the role of my grandfather, severe drinking problem, held on to a very angry man. So by the time that I was about old, my great grandmother took ill. She moved to a home, and I spent the majority of my time there forward with my grandmother. I can recall times back to when I was about 8 or 9 years old, where I would be left home alone in the house. I could go out to the bar to drink. I didn't know how to take care of them. And they tell me they'll be back at a certain time, not back. 1 in the morning goes by, 2 in the morning goes by. I'm starting to panic. I don't know what's going on. This was pretty routine childhood. They would go out pretty much every weekend to do this, and I had no idea when they would come back. So I saw that it created a lot of anxiety within my. They would come home extremely drunk, intoxicated, angry at me and throwing things at me in the room. That was my life growing up. So I was exposed to a lot of that type of abuse growing up, and it frightened me to death. I'd be in my room not knowing what kind of demon is going to be coming through those doors now. When they'd come home, they could either come back and pass out, or he'd come back and he could start yelling at me and throwing things at me and basically terrorizing me. So I had a lot of that embedded into my subconscious mind when I was really young, and it was pretty crippling. Yeah. But
so you were rescued, but even the rescuing still wasn't ideal living conditions.
Absolutely. A phenomenal way to really put, when I grew up, as a bartender, grandmother, she didn't have time to really cook meals or anything of that nature. What kid doesn't want McDonald's or Taco Bell or ice cream? Right. That nature. Going down the path at a pretty young age. My routine, I would get up all a specific time. I'd get up in the morning and I would, ask for, McDonald's breakfast. I would get Taco Bell for lunch, Jack in the Box for dinner. And here, get this, Jim, to top that off. When she would come home from work at 2:30 in the morning, I would call her at work and ask her if she can swing by fast food and pick up more for me at 2 in the morning. I would get up just to eat. I'm talking probably 2,000 calories worth of food and go back to bed, do it all over again the next day. That was really the summary of my childhood, at least my pre-teens up until I was about maybe 12, 13 years old.
Wow.
That type of exposure is essentially.
And it always strikes me too, because, when you're in that situation as the caregiver, I get it, because I've been there too, where you want to make the kids happy, and what, that's, they're not happy when you serve them, the healthy lunch, they're happy. They're excited when you bring them the McDonald's, the Taco Bell, that kind of stuff. And so it is challenging as a caregiver, definitely.
Absolutely. And another point that I wanted to make too is when I was in preschool, most of the kids would either bring a sack lunch or they would eat at school. Not me. You know what my grandmother would do? She would go to Taco Time, which is a fast Pacific Northwest, and she would bring me Taco Time for lunch, brought off in my class so I could eat at lunch every day of the week. Now, I can't even comprehend how expensive that got. My brain, as an adolescent,
right,
I had no idea how it would be, but never questioned it. But that was my life.
Wow.
Hey, every day.
Wow. I'm reminded too of I worked with a client one time who he had come in after a couple sessions, and he said, Jim, he was going to fast food all the time, and he was in his 30s or something. And he said, Jim, I have not been to fast food since our last session. I'm like, yes. And he goes, the only time I go now is to get it for my kids a few days a week. And I'm just going, no. And he goes, no, but they're really active. But people, it doesn't matter, because you were active when you were a kid too. It's when you grow up, you form those eating habits when we're kids. How did you end up breaking free of that? I mean, because that food's addictive, really.
It really is. And honestly, I didn't really break free from that until I was able to break free from, the depression and the anxiety until probably my early 20s.
Wow.
That I was so burdened with guilt. My mother moved up to California. I felt that I was into her. All these things really weighed in on me, and I ended up getting into some trouble at school. And you name it, one thing led to another. I was just burdened with depression, anxiety. I was overweight. It really was early 20s to where I would grip on my life and turn that around. I'm going to be completely honest. I went through a rough divorce when I was in my early 20s. Made some decisions that I am not doing, and that was the rock bottom point for me in my life. That was the point to where it was either I need to take some drastic action and move forward, or these thoughts of suicide were going to manifest physically. It wasn't a good spot to be in, and not a lot of people in my immediate circle were really aware of how I was mentally.
Yeah. Yes,
I was overweight to a degree, but the mental component of that is really what crippled me and plagued me to where I just really couldn't function in my day-to-day life.
Yeah. And so it was. Would you say that the divorce and the situation surrounding that is what was for change? Had you been thinking about it before? Was it something else?
I would say the divorce was really the catalyst for that. I made some decisions, that ultimately ended that marriage that I'm certainly not proud of doing, but they're decisions that I'm able to evaluate those and move forward at. But absolutely it was. And interestingly enough, I came across the Puyallup Fair, so now it's called the Washington State Fair, I believe, and I was really interested in the hypnotist show that they had going on. The hypnotist that was performing out there, and I was really fascinated by that type of work. I had never been familiar with hypnosis before, never really understood the concept of what it was or how it worked, but I was fascinated by that moment in this state of rock bottom, absolutely fascinated. After the show, he talks to the crowd and he said, for anybody interested in the more psychological aspect of what I do, feel free to approach me after the show. And that was the moment right there where I felt a calling to my soul, right there, where I had the opportunity to take action and move forward. From them, it just aired, layers of the onion, moving forward progressively further and further. Nice.
And I know doing both, doing the comedy shows and doing the hypnotherapy part, it's it is challenging because a lot of times as a hypnotherapist we run into people that that think we're going to make them bark like a chicken or whatever. But it is such a great way to get the message out about the power of hypnosis. And so that was your introduction to it. And so did you utilize the hypnosis? What did you do there?
I did. So I talked to him after the show and I approached myself. I don't even know where to start. Can you help me? I just basically threw myself at him. He had a whole season tracks that he had. And it was finally to the point to where I had to, take it and start implementing these. I started listening to some of his tracks that he had customized for self-confidence or building self-esteem or letting go of depression. And I got to tell you, Jim, I had gone to counseling. I had gone to therapists. I have seen psychologists who had diagnosed me with depression and generalized anxiety disorder when I was a teenager. I had seen them for probably about off and on 2 years. Didn't talk openly about it because I was embarrassed. I got to tell you, after working with one session, completely unraveled everything that I had ever known about myself. Years of counseling, years of therapy. It felt good, but I never really got to the root to undo it and reappraise that. Hypnosis was able to do that for me, able to help me. I still had to take the necessary steps to move forward, but it provided me with the tools and the knowledge to do that.
Who was the hypnotist?
His name was Travis Fox.
Travis Fox.
He had performed there for over a decade. A great guy. I don't believe he's still doing, but phenomenal guy. He's helped me a lot more than even realizes.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. And this was in your early 20s when you discovered hypnosis and started making the changes? Is that right?
This is my early 20s. So I discovered it when I was still married, implemented it until I went through the divorce and I realized I needed to take some drastic measures to move forward. It was between the time that I had divorced to the time that I really started dating again to where I knew I had to really do some deep soul searching within myself to let go of all those burdens from the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, we see the physical part, but it really started in the mental part there. Did you have any idea, this idea that, wow, I'm going to get super buff. I'm going to become, a physical trainer, those kind. What was the thinking at that time? Or was it just getting
I never had
getting better?
I never had any remote, idea at all to turn into that. I knew I wanted to become healthy. I wanted to lose weight. But I never fathomed the idea of actually becoming athletic and fit, until I started moving forward with my physical training that I was able to start developing a new life. And once I discovered that passion in life, I was able to snowball off of that. One thing led to it. Once I became healthy and I dropped the weight, I discovered that as my passion, and I was able to start implementing new steps to become fit, more knowledgeable in health and nutrition. And you name it. It was a snowball effect, and it's led me to where I'm at today.
Nice. And I think that's such a great point too, because I think, there's a lot of people, I work with a lot of people that are just like, oh, I hate exercise. I don't want to exercise. And if they looked at it, guys or women, I don't want to get all big like that and everything. And, or I don't want to put any effort. But what I just heard somebody the other day talk about, I just started walking and then all of a sudden I wanted to run. And I found that same thing. It's like, for some people, you start doing these little things, but suddenly you go, you don't even who is this person that wants to do even more now? And I want to do even more and more. And that sounds like that's what happened for you.
Absolutely. And once I started developing that momentum and building that momentum forward, it's so much easier to carry forward with momentum built than it is to actually begin in the first. But you have to start. You have to be willing to start someplace. And once I did, the momentum spiraled forward. Yeah.
This doing something, I think it's just so overlooked, again, so many people think that, and like I did, I thought, you had to just be born with discipline, right? Or you had to be born with willpower and you really build it up over time. And you're really a testament to that. And I love this. Oh, and I got to say, I've been watching some of your Instagram videos of your box jumps. Holy Lord. This guy is like Superman. He's jumping like, you look like you're jumping your body height in there.
I'm working on it, Jim.
Amazing.
That's something I've been consistently working on throughout the years. It's, again, much of that is so much of the mental component to being able to see yourself, envisioning yourself on that box. Physically, a lot of us have the capability to do it, but mentally we're too reluctant to pull the gun. I think the same principle can be applied to a lot of things in life in that. But yeah, box jumps are something I've been consistently working on for several years.
So many. And now you kind of alluded to something earlier. You talked about, if you're gonna put yourself out there and kind of get out there, you got to start doing the social media, whatever. But kind of alluded to the fact that you do help people, because I did notice something you did offer. I think maybe a report on how you built your arms or something. You offered that up there on IG or something. So do you work with people? Do you help people to get healthier?
100%, Jim. Absolutely. It's something that I'm currently developing on building more myself. I do help people on a day-to-day basis. I help people in many different facets of life, anything from the physical component to the mental component. People often ask me what I would describe myself as. There's really no word, such as motivational speaker, perhaps, but a physical fitness coach as well. I'm very passionate about being able to walk other people through their hardships in life, because I was there at one point mentally and physically. I understand the challenges that accompany that. But I also know that there is hope. Even if you cannot see the hope, there is hope there. So it is a passion of mine to be able to walk other people through what burdens are holding them back in life.
Boy, I could totally see you being a motivational speaker. I mean, what a great message to give to high schoolers, or even middle schoolers, that boy, because there's so many kids are stuck in situations, and some of them may be worse than yours, or better, but still a lot of really challenges. And I think that could be, give them some hope. Definitely. I could definitely
agree.
see that.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, one of the things that we like to do on this show is, and before I say that, if you need help, please reach out to Aaron. Also, look up Travis Fox. I don't know if he's completely retired or not, but I'm sure he's still got recordings available. I'll tell you, I actually started off, I had gone to a hypnotist years and years ago, but I only went one time, so it didn't really do much. But I kind of got started myself with listening to audios, and they may not be the ideal situation. Ideally, you're going to sit down with somebody who can give you a personalized session. But man, if you've only got, $20-$30 to spend, you want to give it a try, shoot, give it a try, because it can really get you started at least. If you want to, also, everybody, if you want to just try one, just see what it's like. I always offer this one, my Unlimited Happiness. Go to JimKellnerHypnotist.com/free-hypnosis. You'll get the free hypnosis, Unlimited Happiness. Very popular. Aaron, the whole idea of this show is to help people to live a more awesome life. And when I sent you over the invitation, I said, well, I really want to get 3 tangible steps that people could do to get started living a more awesome life. And before you tell us those, I want to just remind my audience, as always, if you've listened, I always tell you, pick one. Don't try to do everything. Pick one, do it for a week or two, a few weeks, and then add the other one, and then add another one. Aaron, what do you got for us?
Absolutely, Jim. I'll talk about the 3 P's to success in any endeavor in life. I speak about this routinely in my videos.
I love that.
Those 3 P's are passion.
Yeah.
You need to be able to develop or discover a passion for what fuels your soul, what aligns with your conviction, what lights you on fire every day. You need to be able to discover or develop passion. Number 2, persistence. Persistence is consistency. Our daily actions must be consistent, even when we feel we're lacking the motivation to move forward. If we're consistently taking the necessary steps to propel us forward toward our passion, we're on the right track. And lastly, but definitely not least, this is where most people seem to fall off that wagon. It's perseverance. Perseverance is persevering through adversity when circumstances become too difficult. When things become difficult, people often start to doubt themselves. They question themselves. They question their ability to do it. They question if it's right. They question, a number of factors on there. That's where a lot of people give up. You need to be able to persevere through adversity to be able to achieve your goal. So passion, persistence, and perseverance. 3 things you can do to live an awesome life. Guaranteed. If you do them, you'll achieve a lot more than you ever believed you could.
Thank you, Aaron. That's awesome. And I got to say, I mean, if you looked back at that guy, even as late as your early 20s, when you were, still married that first time around, could you ever even have imagined that you were going to get to this place?
Never, never. I don't even have to think about that for more than a fraction of a second. Was unfathomable. And one of the questions that was asked of me from Travis Fox was, "What do you want to be in life?" I said, "Well, I just want to be happy." He said, "What does that mean to you?"
Yeah.
I didn't have an answer to that. How can you live a life that you can't even define for yourself?
Yeah.
That shaped my whole perspective.
Wow. Now that's a really great point, because, that's the thing, we oftentimes, and, I tend to, it's easy for us that are in the industry, that have been around this kind of language for a while, to forget the fact that a lot of people, they have no idea what we're talking about. So when we say things like this, one of the great examples is, would you get on a boat with no destination? I mean, you're not going to get to your destination if you don't know where you're going, right? And so I love this, having a plan. I want to, do you have a few minutes? Could we go over a little bit? I wanted to clarify a few things.
Oh, absolutely. I'm happy to.
Good. I want you to, and I will go back and I'll answer the question I answered you too. I remember when I was like in my early 20s, and I would listen to these motivational videos, and I watched Tony Robbins on TV and stuff. And I thought, wow, I would love to do that, but I'll never be able to. And now I'm a motivational speaker. You know what I mean? It's like, it's so amazing when you start working towards these things, and you can do it. Now, I may never be as big as Tony Robbins, but I'm a lot further along than if I never would have tried for it. So that's something to keep in mind, folks. Say you're talking to me. I'm this, or say you're talking to yourself. You're married. Your life sucks. You're overweight. You're unhappy. You're depressed. You're anxious. How do I get passion? How do you get passion?
I believe for me, I was able to objectively look at myself. I realized what led me to where I'm at. And for the longest time, Jim, I lived a lie. I lived a lie. I would pretend to be happy on the outside. I was not. I needed somebody to call me on that. I needed somebody to clearly pinpoint me and back me into a corner to where I had to be objectively honest with myself. That was difficult, because it's easy to put on a facade of what we want to be, how we want to convey ourselves to other people. But until we can look ourselves in the mirror, I always say, you can lie to the world, but the one person you cannot lie to is the person looking back at you in the mirror. I was lying to myself every day, and I knew it. I had to be objectively honest with myself. Once I was honest with myself, that's one more layer pulled back. Discovering that I feel a lot better now. That's just a small step forward, but it's actually much more monumental than one might think. So that was the first step, being objectively honest with yourself and who you are at the core. Is this the same person that you're conveying to other people?
Awesome. Awesome. And, I think something too, like, so you're 34 now, you're doing these magnificent box jumps. You've got the guns from Navarone. Is that the movie Navarone? Is that? Yeah. I just came up with that. You can use that.
No, I'm actually not sure.
It's an old World War II movie, I think. I don't know.
Nice.
Anyway, you're like, no, I won't use it. That's fine. You keep it, Jim. You didn't have to get to this place before you start feeling happy, right?
Absolutely. In fact, I would say it was the opposite. I would say the opposite is true.
Yeah. So this is and I'm in a lot of groups, keto groups and getting healthy groups and all this. And I see everybody is like, this is, in fact, you'll see my new meme this week. Everybody's getting a preview of this because everybody's asking, how do I lose 20 pounds quick? How do I lose 50 pounds quick? I'm so depressed I want to lose 100 pounds. And I always reply with, the quickest way to lose 20 pounds is to start 6 months ago. And so the next best time is to start now, just like the old, when's the best time to plant a tree 20 years ago? We'll do it now. But people are so obsessed with that end goal because they think they're not going to be happy, satisfied, able to find love themselves, whatever, until they lose that 100 pounds or that 20 pounds, whatever. But I've found that it's steps along the way. Would you agree that it's every little, you're going to start feeling happier within probably at least months, maybe even weeks or days, right?
Oh, absolutely. And it goes back to discussing building momentum forward. Like you said, 6 months ago was the best time to start. We can't recover lost time. So the next best time to start is right now. Not tomorrow, not next Monday, not next month, right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And believe me, folks, you will, it's every 5 or 10 pounds, people are going to notice it. You're going to start feeling better. You're going to step on the scales. Your clothes are going to feel, less tight. And not only that, but you're going to start getting better opportunities in life, and I mean, just all kinds of things. So try not to be discouraged. You talked about this, the persistence. Especially, or you said even when you don't want to do it. And what I found is that you need to do it, especially when you don't want to. That's when you need it the most, right? But what do we do? So if I'm sitting on my couch, I'm in my mid-20s and I'm eating, Doritos and ding dongs and watching TV all day, and maybe I go for a walk a couple times. What do I do? How can I keep that persistence up, especially if I'm not seeing results right away?
Honestly, the best thing that I would encourage other people to do, because I follow my own advice, at least I try to the best of my ability on this. But so many times I hear people say, I just got to find the motivation, or I just can't quite get the gumption to go out there and do it. I don't know what it is. I'm just not motivated. Sometimes you'll never be motivated. And if you wait for motivation to come to you, you might be 92 years old in a rocking chair in a retirement home. So what do you do? I look at my day yesterday and I ask myself from an objective standpoint, I try to take myself from a third person standpoint. If they were to look at my life, were the decisions that I made yesterday truly in alignment with what I say are my passions? Was I watching TV when I could have been out exercising, when I could have been working on that book, when I could have been meditating? Any aspect of self-improvement that is right for you. What could I have done better with my time? You have to be objectively honest with yourself about that, and then do it the next day without thinking too much about it. Because if we think too much about it, we'll get in our head. Once we get in our head, we'll start trying to make excuses to justify reasons as to why we should not be doing it. Once we start getting in our head, we'll tell ourselves these justifications so we don't feel so bad for ourselves. We just got to get out there. We have to take action. And action, I always say, motion creates emotion. So once we do that, that's building more momentum.
I couldn't agree more. You don't need motivation. You just need to get up off your ass and go do it. Right.
Absolutely.
This is such a great thing you said too, because I can remember a time when I really thought exercise, I was just like, God, what a waste of time. I've got all these other things I want to do. And sadly, I'll be honest, it wasn't writing a book. It wasn't, it wasn't working on my business. It was, I wanted to watch TV, really was what it was. And it was getting in my, and I just realized it is. I've gotten into the habit recently of just getting up and going for about an hour walk every morning. And I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it way more than I ever did watching TV or anything like that. So your taste will change over time, and it gets easier. So you're not going to have to push yourself hard every single time. It does get easier, folks. It really does. And can you elaborate on perseverance? Because you've kind of stuck with us for a while, and it's pretty easy for us to maybe get our discipline, our willpower going for a few weeks or maybe even a few months, and then we just give up.
Absolutely. Perseverance, arguably, they're all equally important to me, but perseverance, from what I see in other people, is where most people fall off the wagon. It's succumbing to a lack of motivation. It's succumbing to a lack of gumption. We don't feel motivated, therefore we do something to bring immediate gratification, right? I don't feel like going out to the gym because I had a long day today. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm fatigued. Now, it's important to differentiate valid reasoning from excuses. Only we know that. But those are the times where we must persevere forward. Yeah. Can I really make this happen? Nobody ever regrets doing it, but at the end of the day, regret often comes from what we did not do. Yeah. So that's where I always say persevere. When we don't want to do it, that's the most important time to do it.
Boy, isn't that the truth? If you're ever on the fence, should I work out? Should I not? Barring some sort of an injury or something, you will always be grateful to yourself for doing it every single time.
Absolutely.
I mean, without exception, really, you'll never go, man, I wish I just would have stayed home and watched TV tonight.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jim. And I like what you said about barring an injury or anything like that, because there are valid reasons. We have a broken leg. We're probably not going to go to the gym and do some squats or some sprints, right? Yeah. It's probably a valid reason. But if we're a little fatigued and tired, well, only we know that truth.
Yeah. That reminds me too. I had a client one time who, we got to make sure that we're not just being too easy on our, with our excuses. I had a client one time who came in and she she had a wrist thing on, a brace on. And I said, so have you been exercising this month? She wanted to walk. Her walking was her exercise. She goes, no, I hurt my wrist. I just started laughing. I was like, I couldn't even help it. It just came out. I was like, and she was like, well, but it's like, your wrist is not, you can still walk, right? I don't. So,
yep. I've heard that one a time or two, or at least something similar to that nature, at least.
There's something about the jarring motion. I don't know. Anyway, but we can all come up with great excuses for not doing whatever we need to do. Definitely. I can look, and the reason I can laugh at people is because I've been there. I've been in that same position many times. So, Aaron, man, what a blast to be able to catch up with you again. I haven't seen you in, over a year now, I think, right? It's been a while.
It's been over a year since we moved. Absolutely. Yeah. It's been quite some time, but we see each other on Facebook, which is nice. One thing I'm thankful for technology for is to be able to keep that interaction going.
Yeah, right. I know people, especially after the social dilemma, that movie, I was a little more concerned about it, but yeah, it definitely does help in a lot of things like this. Do you are you practicing hypnosis now for other people? Are you doing it or just for yourself? Or
I'm primarily doing it just for myself right now. I am working on going through the proper licensing here in the state to do it. However, it is something. I have several programs that I've already pre-written. I have several tracks that I've already pre-written. In fact, those tracks are going to be the first thing that go up on my website as soon as I get my website up and published.
Fantastic! I look forward to seeing your progress, Aaron. I know you're going to be a huge name in the industry. Aaron, it's been just fantastic. Thank you. It's been fantastic talking to you. Really appreciate you.
Hey, likewise. I feel the same. Always good catching up, Jim.
And hey, say hi to your wife.
Absolutely.
You found someone there too. Now, was she into physical culture before you guys got married, or?
She has been. Yeah, her and I met. We met in Washington a little over 3 years ago when she moved there for her job. Yeah, she is. She's very active, like I am. She loves doing it. But it's funny, if you were to ask her, which I'm gonna have her watch this podcast later on. If you were to ask her, she does not enjoy working out. If you ask her, she works out so she can enjoy eating food. That's what she'll tell you.
Whatever works.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I once again, thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate having you on the show today.
Hey, likewise, Jim. Thank you as well. It's an honor to be on here.
And hey, for you out there watching, please reach out to Aaron. He's really, just, you can see by his attitude, he's got just a great attitude, and really, he understands. He's not somebody that's had the privileged life and was brought up, the right way of eating right and exercising and everything. He had a lot of challenges, and because of that, he's empathetic and he knows what it's like, so he can help you to get through that stuff. Check him out on Instagram. Check him out on Facebook, Aaron, Braunn. And as always, take care, be well, be awesome.
Thanks, Jim. Great talking to you.